Hello, and welcome to Vegas. My name is Ebube, and you are listening to Popcorn for Dinner. This week on Pluribus, Carol tries to find a friend. She tries to find help, and honestly, help finds her, just not really in the way that she wanted. There are a few surprises, and we learn a little bit about what the Hive is cooking up, how much Diabate is eating it up, and also what else the Hive might have been eating this entire time. We also get a chance to check in with our good friend in Paraguay who absolutely does not want to talk to us yet, but give him time. I think delving into this episode is going to be a fun experience because we're fresh off a revelation. We have a few things explained to us, and I only want to do it with Cris. So hi, Cris. How you doing today?
Hello, I'm good. Excited to discuss.
What was your favorite part of the episode this week?
Oh my gosh. I cried twice because this really hit me in the gut. I am tapped into Carol's emotional journey. So
yeah, it was a bit of a journey. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. I loved it.
Was a little crazy.
It was a good episode.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like this episode did a good job of continuing exactly where it left off, and that was a very useful thing. So I think that's what we're going to do as well. This episode starts off pretty much exactly where the last one ended, right after Carol's discovery in the freezer. What were your thoughts on that whole experience and the way the show chose to kind of carry us along with her? Like, do you think it kept the momentum that we were expecting?
I do. I liked the sort of frantic opening with, her running out and then running back in with the video camera. And it was basically what I expected, essentially, right? Because I think last week we talked about, me thinking it was dead bodies, based on the sort of clues that they left last episode. And I think the state that we found them in, because they are chopped up and vacuum sealed, now makes sense with the delayed reaction, because when she did hold up that head and said, this isn't a butterball turkey, it almost did look like a butterball turkey for a second. So I can understand why it took her a minute to process that. And that's why we had the delayed reaction.
Oh my God. Yeah. Her referencing butterball turkey is the week right after Thanksgiving is fantastic.
Oh my gosh. I know.
Yeah. Actually, do you think you could have picked up a severed head? Maybe if it was shrink wrapped.
She's got to hold it up for the camera, She's like, this is my vlogging era. I have to do this right.
Yeah, it's a little wild, honestly. But I feel like she's learned a little bit about the world now and the way the world kind of operates. So on some level, I think she knows what to expect and what she feels like the people in this world have to kind of bring to the table, so to speak. Given the, I guess, events of this episode, I'm not sure she's going to try any more communication, because I can only imagine the sheer disappointment of running to save the world by telling somebody what she's found. And it's like, oh yeah, we know.
Yeah, I think the show I think that's the trick of the show, is that they want to turn tropes on their head. And so I feel like there's this constant sort of pulling the rug out from under you. Not in a bad way, in a good way. Like the first episode, right? They all come out, they're these creepy zombies, but it's like, oh, what if they were really nice, actually? And I think it's the same thing here. What if they were eating people, but it's not really bad. It's actually necessary. And
it's necessary.
What if you're going to go save
malicious.
The world? Yeah. And, what if you thought everyone was going to have the same reaction and be shocked by this? But no, actually, they already know. So I think that's kind of the trick of the show that they keep kind of leaning towards, which is fun.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And the camcorder choice, again, makes a lot of sense. I actually do love how in a show that has so little dialogue so much of the time, things continuously make sense to us as viewers, because for most of the stuff that happens, we find ourselves realizing we would definitely make a lot of the same decisions Carol is making. And yeah, I'm also happy that we were right. We were definitely right about all our crackpot theories. So
Yeah.
that's
I
pretty
know some
nice.
people, I don't know. I think some people were overthinking this a bit. I think some of the online reaction was like, well, if we're all thinking it's dead bodies, it can't be dead bodies. It's too obvious. But
Yeah.
I think that's good writing. I think the
Yeah.
fact that they put enough in the episode where you could naturally come to that conclusion is good. I think
Yes.
trying to make us think it's dead bodies and then be like, oh, by the way, it's something else just for a cheap shock would not be
Yeah,
good, right? It would just feel cheap. So,
I agree with you. Subverting expectations for the sake of subverting expectations is usually nonsensical. You want
mhm.
to, it's like I've said before, right? Good TV shouldn't make you feel dumb. Good TV should make you reach higher. And I think the viewers of this show are reaching higher. They're trying to kind of find the answer. They're using the clues that they've been given. And it's good when the writing rewards the viewer for paying attention. When writers think that they have to they have to change things at the last second in order to trick the audience or be one step ahead because they feel like being one step ahead and the audience not knowing what's happening is a sign of good writing. You get all kinds of weird decisions. You get changes to the story that don't really make sense. As George R. R. Martin would say, if everything you've done points to the butler having done it, and then you say that the maid did it, it's like, well, you kind of ruined the whole book. And that's how you
Mm.
get decisions like people who are not the established chosen one in an entire series killing the Night King. But that is not the podium I am on today. What I will say, though, is that this podcast is doing quite a lot right now. We are covering a good amount of stuff, and a lot of it is about to come out. There's going to be some fun announcements. Our Slow Horses and Gen V coverage is still there, and you should definitely listen to it because we had a lot of fun doing it. But we've been covering a lot of movies. Is This Cinema is still on fire. Burned my hand the other day. We have a lot of stuff coming in January, and we're preparing for some interesting collaborations now that the year is ending and a new year is about to begin. So definitely stay tuned for that. Thinking about Carol, though, I feel like her reaction makes sense in more ways than one, right? She goes home, and I love how, again, I talked about the absence of dialogue, which is intentional in this show. It's not that they don't know how to write dialogue or words, right? It's the fact that we were watching her move. We were watching her discover things. At some point, she's even wearing a jacket when she's using the camcorder, and I was wondering when she went back to get one. But I feel like we had a nice transition to the door. So it's like the show doesn't want to reveal all its cards just yet. And she talked about what's cooking inside the vats. I believe we ended up sort of finding out what was cooking to some degree, if not all of it, just because they had that explained later in the episode. But I like the fact that when she went home, we saw her whole thought process, right? You can just tell that she very much realizes in real time that she can't afford to reveal anything that she's found because she doesn't trust that their desire to please her will trump their need for self-preservation, their quote unquote biological imperative. So she immediately starts packing and she's like, okay, I'm going to tell, like I predicted last week, the one guy who she knows exactly where he is. And that was a bit of a drive. I mean, we're talking like 9 hours from where she is. So yeah, or
Yeah,
at least
that's commitment.
that's the estimate that we came up with the other night on Pete Pepper's live stream, where I was on with Bankole and Aaron. And yeah, that was a fun time. We were doing a lot of math that night.
Yeah, commitment. I guess I did not put it in Google Maps yet, but we could just Albuquerque to Las Vegas.
Yeah. In my head, it was like anywhere between 9 and 11 hours, depending on how much somebody wants to cruise.
We got
But
10
I feel
hours and 23 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, that's the exact one, I guess, since you just checked it. I need to shout out one of the comments that we got last week. Somebody was talking about brain pH specifically, like how Carol was like, oh, this is basically neutral. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of redundant. That's a bit of a joke from the writers there because it can't really be basically neutral in terms of pH. But I found it interesting that, this one person said if they're separating the body parts, then it essentially means that they're doing different things with different ones. And it's possible that what they're getting is brains, because apparently brains have a very specific neutral pH. So the fact that Carol found heads, and I think in other parts of the warehouse she found, different kinds of body parts and stuff like that. It reminds me of something I actually said on Peace Livestream, which was this idea that maybe the different flavors of milk have different nutritional value and they're made with different parts of the body. I don't know if that's something I was kind of alluding to, because obviously we find out that there's a lot of stuff mixed into this. But I do think it's interesting that I guess everybody is still going to starve once they run out of runway, and that's established. I mean, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Mr. Diabate tells her that, they have to drink this milk to get their human-derived protein. That's what HDP is, the episode title. Yeah, because apparently they cannot even kill plant life, which I was not aware of. So that's why
We kind
I
of
thought
talked about that earlier in the season, right? Like whether that was going to be the case, and I guess it is.
Yeah, like I thought there was something weirder going on because, I saw the lack of other food containers and I was like, well, why would they have to only have that? They can be vegan. There are other things to eat. But when you can't farm and you can't even pick an apple off of a tree, you're going to run into issues. So that really puts them behind. And so I'm almost starting to agree with Carol then, where I think the only way to fix them is to turn it back, because yeah, you can come up with some other solutions like, robotic farming and or whatever, but I mean, I just feel like as humans, like you need to be able to like live where you can, from the beginning of time, like people have eaten by like hunting, right? And by picking fruit off trees. Like that's like if you go back to the, how do humans started to eat, and I feel like if you don't have the ability to do that, that is an issue in the long term.
It's giving destruction of Krypton, but make it peaceful.
Yeah, so I don't know. That whole idea was kind of bringing me to this thinking that I think the show is maybe trying to land on this idea that life can't be 100% peaceful. Like you need conflict, you need pain in life, or and by hurting no one, you're hurting yourselves. Like you're literally starving because you're not willing to hurt a single thing. And that's actually a problem when you step back and think about it on just a more like philosophical human nature level.
Yeah, the show does explore a lot of philosophical questions, and this episode is no different. Definitely props to the writing and direction here. This episode was directed by Ganja Montero and written by Vera Blasi. But I feel like with an episode like this where Carol is learning so much, we have no choice but to kind of come into like certain conclusions with her and to kind of question where the world goes from here, right? And I think it was cool to kind of see all the little breadcrumbs that have been left. And the fact that, Casanova McBoner was so calm and collected once Carol showed up, that was funny to me, right? Because he's kind of expecting certain things, and even when you see him, having fun earlier, it's almost like they knew that Carol would come to ask questions, and they told him. So it didn't seem like a surprise to him that she was showing up. It was more like, okay, that thing we talked about, it's happening now. So we need to leave, because they still don't want to make any contact with her. And that's very interesting to me. How many days has it been since they broke contact?
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't think it's been too long, because she did her whole investigating in the refrigerator, like a day or two after they left. So
yeah, I think it's been about 4 days, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, because originally I saw the Vegas episode and I was like, oh my God, Carol's going to party in Vegas with Mr. Diabate. But No, they were like, we need to get out of
Oh,
here the minute they
I
realized she
see.
was coming.
That's what you felt, that she would actually be having fun? Because
Not
the
really,
whole
but I think
time.
just more at the beginning of the season where you saw
Oh,
those
I see.
clips of this and you're like, oh, fun, a Vegas episode. And then not so
Yeah.
fun, actually. We get a
What I
little bit
actually,
of.
yeah, like what I imagined was going to be was essentially that the party would be happening around her, and she would just be like a fish out of water, like just sitting in a
Just
corner, very
grumpy
unhappy.
in the corner.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, let's actually talk about Vegas for a second, because you know, I guess it makes sense for us to, I guess, go over to Casino Royale, where the going is great, which is actually the song that was playing when we move over there. I think it's important to note, right? Obviously, the show kind of walks us through it and allows us to experience it, but this idea that Diabate is the only old schooler in this place. He is the only person who is not a joined/other/member of the Hive. So that essentially means, like, for anyone who may have missed this, he has instructed the Hive around him to be in character for his sole pleasure. Like, he's essentially created his own park of Westworld. He's become Adrian Veidt. Everyone speaks French. It's literally Casino Royale, but make it French. Like, and it's just funny because we see the moment from the trailer, right, where the lady in the white dress grabs the drinks, takes them to Diabate's table. She blows a kiss, which only serves to show how committed the Hive is to their role here. Because how are you blowing a kiss at yourself? Like, it's crazy. They all have the same brain. Like, the person who was receiving that blown kiss knew it was coming. Like, it's very interesting. These people don't even talk to each other, but they're doing all this for him. And the show displays all the usual tropes of people who would normally be around this table, before Eye Patch Dude eventually says all in. Like, it's literally like watching a small play that he has going for him every day, right before he goes into like his little orgy situation, because of course his harem is still operating. I'm guessing it's a part of the bit every day where after they do whatever they do, he then asks who wants to join, and then only certain people can join, because the Hive breaks character, right? They're clapping for him. He's like, dude.
He's like,
and then I feel bad
character.
for the guy who's standing right there where the cup is slapped, because like that hits him like right on the nuts. And I'm like, and the cup obviously like shatters, but everybody seemed to want to go. Like, the people behind him had their hands up. Like, they started cleaning immediately. Everything is still so efficient, and then it's just complete silence except wherever Diabate is. And that is just funny in so many ways, because what the people who were acting, what did they even talk about?
Yeah, the level of commitment, because even if he's in the main room and then there's people kind of in this offshoot room, they are talking to each other to create that experience of like, this is a party, this is how things would be. And
the chatter
you're
in
right.
the background,
But once he goes up to his penthouse on the 30th floor, it's silent. They don't have to talk. So I guess they're very committed actors, right? They have all those actors in their head, and they're tapping into all of our Oscar winners to give him a good performance.
Yeah, honestly, the background artists are really eating their fill in this show, because there's just so much for them to do. And, we also see, of course, the welcome Carol teaser when she arrives, and we see that, now that we have the context of the fact that they've left her, we see that this is essentially an indication that despite how they feel about what's happened and they're needing space, they still care about her. They're welcoming her. Like, they didn't have to do that. They could have just left things the way they were, right? And I think in terms of philosophical questions, one of the first ones that comes to my mind is this idea of whether hedonism is sustainable, right? Because we're looking at what Diabate is doing, and we're looking at the lifestyle that he's been living, and he seems very satisfied right now. Of course, by the time his time with Carol ends, it's only been about 12 days, 12 and a half days really, since the incident. But how long can endless pleasure be pleasurable? I mean, that's the question that comes to mind. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it stops at a certain point, and I think just knowing that there is this impending crisis, like, even if it does take 10 years, right? Maybe I think on a personal level, you do need some conflict, but maybe for him that can be extended because he can create fake conflict, right? Like he wanted his poker player opponent to get mad at him. Like he did want that rush of someone building conflict, even if it was fake and he had to play act it. But yeah, I don't know. It's very like cabaret. Like we're all singing and dancing and there's this impending situation that's looming over the corner, which is the starvation crisis. And
Yeah, that's
not to
actually
like
a
jump
huge
ahead too
reveal.
much, but it's interesting that he is concerned about it and, you know, is working with everyone again to come up with suggestions. And yet he is massively depleting their resources, right? Like he is eating gourmet food all the time. He is using these people in a way where they're not helpful to the rest of society because they're sitting there play acting for him. So I think it's interesting, you know, and that's human, right? Everyone's kind of a hypocrite, and he's definitely a hypocrite, right? Because, you know, maybe you're judging Carol for not caring about humanity in the right way, but you're not helping also. So in a different sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. And he's using, like you said, resources in so many different ways. His outfits are literally the same, like kind of outlandish outlandish adherence to being as different and, you know, wealthy as possible. He's trying on different things. He's embodying different aesthetics. He has mules on in this episode. In fact, while he has his mules on at breakfast, he's also like he's combining this two-piece set with a freaking G-Shock, which I absolutely loved. From what I could tell, it seemed like a GA 700, which is nice. I mean, I'm biased because that's actually the same one that I'm wearing right now, but I feel like he is so content, and I found this moment of him saying, "Look, I know exactly what's happening." They asked me if I wanted to give my consent, and I said, "At this time, I would prefer not to." And that just says a lot, right? He's like, "I'm going to help you figure out how to not starve, but not at the expense of my own enjoyment." And that is an interesting indicator of how he operates, right?
Yeah, and I think he's a good character because, you
Hmm.
know, they showed, for example, the girl from Peru, I believe, she was like, I really want to join the hive mind. That is where my
Exactly.
family is and I want to be with them. But he's in this state of I want to take advantage of the situation and I'm fine with just sitting back and letting them do what they want, but I don't actually want to partake, right? Because he's benefiting more by not being a part of them. Um, and I don't know if we're gonna get into the whole conversation here because here is where there's a lot of tricky language.
In what sense?
With the when we get to the stem cell twist here as to how they are going to turn them. That's a
Yeah,
big conversation.
it is interesting, right? Because that is obviously not just a complicated process, it's a painful one. And that's part of the reason they need consent, because they can't hurt them. But I feel like the fact that, you know, Carol can't hide her vitriol and justifiable frustration, even in this moment, like when the reveal happens, is interesting to me. Like, he even has to go, wow. Like, I think there's a certain level where he's tired of listening, not necessarily tired of listening to her, but he's also as apprehensive as the hive when it comes to dealing with Carol, because it's just like everybody sort of wants to ask her this question, but they don't ask, which is, why can't you just be nice? But she doesn't really want to be nice. She doesn't feel like she has to be. And obviously she's going through a lot. It's easy to ask as well, like, is Diabate too lax about all this stuff? You know, Carol then asks him, do you seriously think the world's a better place now just because it's peaceful? And I think that leads into the next philosophical question, which is, what is worth sacrificing for peace? Like, does the show want us to ask that question? Is peace really peace if it's forced upon you? But then somebody would argue they're not really forcing it. They're asking for consent.
Yeah.
So what do we do?
Yeah, and I think, well, okay, two parts, which I like I said, because I touched on this earlier, which I think that,
Hmm.
you know, there's this idea that, again, with this like farming issue, that they actually, again, maybe there is a solution with robotic farming. I need to look more into robotic farming, but
Me
you
too.
know, in the long term, it's like
Clearly.
I don't think you should have to be that reliant on technology, right? I think you should be able to do these like normal human being instincts, which is to eat fruit off of trees and, you know, eat
Not just wait
plants
for
and
them
eat
to
animals.
ripen
That's like
and
a
fall
very,
off.
yeah, not that you have to eat animals, like a lot of people don't, but like, you know, you need to be able to do those things. And like, I don't think that's a good idea for humanity in the long term. In which case, it just kind of, even if Carol's being rough about it, it does put it back of like, maybe we do just need to change the world back. And if you think about it too, I think there's this idea of that we need conflict in life, which you talked about. And think about it. They are wasting precious resources on the survivors, on the old schoolers, because they can't tell them no. They have to give them anything they want. And I think that's also a problem. You need to learn to say no, right? And be like,
Yeah.
actually, Carol, we can't give you a Sprouts because we need to save all this food. And right, and you could, you know, you can put the blame on Carol, but she didn't know, right? But if they could actually speak up and say no, problem solved, right? Or same thing with
Yeah.
Kumba here. No, we can't give you gourmet food. We're in a crisis. But no, they can't say no, and that's, I think, an argument for why we need some healthy conflict in life.
I mean, we discussed this also in terms of the A-bomb, right? Because once you have a situation where they're willing to give her a tool that would destroy the planet before they even like caution her or anything, after one of them almost got killed by a close quarters grenade explosion, it's like, what wouldn't they be willing to do? So yeah, conflict is definitely not there. You have this philosophy from them which borders on endless gratification and servitude. You have Kumba with his hedonism, and you have Carol with her existentialism. And I think on some level, the show wants us to think about which of these is the most sustainable in the world the way it is right now. Like, would it be Carol's school of thought where agency is there, but everyone should be free to do whatever they want to do and try to survive? Or Kumba's where it's just like, I'm going to enjoy myself as much as I can while I can. I mean, he has a different Lamborghini for each day. And I mean, I kind of have to agree with Carol that it is an interesting choice, because at the very least, you could have tried different cars. Like, why do they all have to be Lamborghinis? But anyway, yeah, I think it's interesting that, you know, Carol is learning this pretty much right after it's discovered, right? He says that they've only made this discovery of the stem cell thing yesterday. And, you know, I wonder why she immediately calls. Like, do you think she didn't believe him?
I think it's more like you want to lock that in, right? The minute, because she doesn't know. They could walk in the room right there with their syringe and be like, now's the time. I think she's just so anxious to not have this happen that she runs to the phone. And this is where the tricky language comes in, because remember earlier in the episode, he talked about how their preference was to be vegetarian, not that they were vegetarian. And that was intentional. Yep. And Carol makes a comment about how, oh, they really used all the lawyers in their head, right? And in this case, Carol asked two questions on the phone, which are, is it true you need our stem cells to turn us? Yes. And is it true you need our permission to collect those stem cells? Yes. But she doesn't connect the two to ask the crucial question of, do you need our permission to turn us into you? Because if they can get the stem cells a different way, the permission does not apply. And that goes back to our eggs in episode 3. So Carol is screwed.
Yeah, you definitely made that connection. I was thinking about this too, because my question then became, would they then use the eggs, assuming they could get access to them? Would they do this without Carol's permission? It's like, okay, we have the stem cells, and she has explicitly told us that we can't use them. But I mean, she is not here and we have the cells. So we're not necessarily turning her. We're kind of just like creating maybe a version of, like, I mean, would they do that? Would they actually do that?
From the lawyer's perspective, they absolutely can. The only they only said that no stem cells will be collected from your body. They made a specific choice to use those words because because Zosha already said that their biological imperative to turn her does override her consent. They already had that conversation. The only reason Carol thinks she's safe is because she thinks they need to collect the stem cells from her body, and they don't because there are eggs out there. So once they figure that out, she's got nothing. I was like, girl, there's an Albuquerque lawyer you need to call. Her name is Kim Wexler. You better call Saul. You gotta cover your bases here.
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, it could definitely become a huge problem for her. Because that crucial question that you're talking about, and we've definitely considered this crucial question, but isn't that something that Carol could argue was implied? Or do you think they're going to be like, there is no such thing as implication here? Because it's because she's made her intentions clear, right? Her intention is, do not turn me no matter what.
Yeah.
So like, even if they have the stem cells, aren't they bound to not turn her simply because she said that?
I don't think so, because of the grenade conversation with Zosha in episode 3, because they had that conversation where Carol was like, I don't want this. Like, why would you do this? And then, Zosha talks about how they have to throw a life preserver. If you saw someone drowning, you'd have to do it. And that's our biological imperative. So I think
because
ultimately,
they think that they'd be helping her.
Yeah. So I think that overrides anything. They just can't cause the harm. So I think Carol thinks she's safe, and maybe this will be bad because now in future she's going to operate as if she's safe. But she doesn't know that she's actually in the same position as she was before this phone call.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, what does this all mean now in terms of the relief that she clearly feels about not having to worry about being turned? Like, do you think she's going to become more agreeable? I mean, at least that's what I was thinking up until the point where, he's trying to appeal to her to, like, have a change of heart. And she's literally like, yeah, no.
I think she'll get there, but I think this episode has all the seeds planted, right? Like, because of this, she might feel more comfortable, and he's here, like, the world misses you, Zosha misses you, so he is making a specific appeal using Zosha, who is the person she would be most attached to here. And yeah, maybe not immediately, but I think she's got a crack at some point, because we can go back now too. Like, she was clearly very lonely in this episode, because the minute that Kumba was like,
who would have thought that she could get lonelier, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That was so sad.
Yeah, he's like, oh, by the way, all the other survivors have been Zooming twice a week. We meet up, and we all voted that we don't want you there. And
mostly we're on Zoom.
It was like,
I love that guy.
Oh, Racy Horn is so good, because this was so sad to watch.
Like, most of the world's population will literally starve to death within the next 10 years. There's discussions of robotic farming, but there's still not enough, like, vim in anyone's soul to bring Carol into the conversation, because nobody likes her. Like, I can actually even imagine that there was maybe one person who was like, okay, let's actually, like, discuss this. Let's bring Carol in. And then Lakshmi's like, no, absolutely not. I do not want her here. And also the idea that the non-English speakers were offended, I'm like, fair. It's actually fair, because she very specifically said, no, I don't want them. And obviously it's because she was trying to avoid the Hive translating, because she wanted a situation where like, she could just speak directly and the Hive could not be around. But I guess at that point she hadn't really figured out that they would not lie to her or to anybody. So those people ended up being excluded, but now everyone else has formed a connection and an actual relationship. So she's the one who's being left out. And I'm just thinking about how alone she feels, right? Because she drank herself to sleep, which is obviously a thing that she does, but she hasn't done it in a few episodes. So that means she's kind of reached rock bottom again. But I like that she ends up having a very human breakfast out of this, like, of course, it's funny that when she's going to cry, she's like, "Where's your nearest bathroom?" Literally just so she could cry. And then his face is on the wall because there are images of him everywhere in this suite. Insane, by the way. But like the fact that she's eating avocado toast and then he's trying to eat the avocado toast the same way that she is because he's not used to doing it that way because, yeah, like different cultures. I thought that was funny. I thought that was a very human moment. And that's something we haven't really seen for a while because obviously old schoolers don't generally interact, or at least they don't interact on screen because no one likes Carol. And it's Carol that we are stuck with. So I think the sheer panic on his face at the thought of her staying, not even because he doesn't want her around, but because it means that the hive won't come back to him. You can tell that he's having like a genuine moment of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what do I do? How do I stop this? And just the loneliness on her face when she notices that, because she has a moment of like, wow, oh my God. And then she plays it off as a joke and then leaves. That was rough.
I think, we see in real time the facade that she's been putting up this whole show, right? Immediately when he hesitates on wanting to hang out with her a little more, she just immediately backtracks, makes a joke. Oh, I actually can't wait to leave Vegas. And, but she looks really pained as she says it because she's so lonely. And then he couldn't even give her 24 hours of human interaction. He's like, no more, not even a few more hours. And I think we could just see, again, just like how she uses this mask to cover up her vulnerabilities, I think we just kind of saw that happen in real time.
I wonder if he might have given her more time if she was more agreeable to the hive. I feel like his desire for her to leave had more to do with him wanting them around and less to do with him wanting her gone.
I think he just wants to go back to his life. So maybe
if she has that change of heart. Yeah, exactly. So maybe if she has that change of heart, they'll gladly give her a suite on like the 28th floor or something like that. And then, she can kind of be around because on some level, somebody will look at his reaction and be like, yeah, that's completely fair. Like the entire world is available. Why do you want to be in my building? Find your own building.
But for her, he's the lifeline. He's the only person she can talk
exactly.
to.
And I wish that she could stay there. In fact, I think it might even be a nice situation if all of the old schoolers like actually maybe got their own floor in that building, and that can now be the new center of the world. Like Vegas is basically like humanity's headquarters, so to speak. And I don't know if that's something that would end up happening because I doubt Lakshmi wants to leave where she is. And I don't know what some of the other people are doing. Obviously, Veska's character, Manousos, is figuring his own stuff out. So, maybe we should talk about him and what he might want. Obviously, he ends up finally going outside, right? I like when the count up timer actually rewinds to 9 days instead of 12 so that we can see when he gets the videos. And he actually has a reaction to that, right? Carol obviously was hurt by the fact that Diabate had seen the videos and didn't say anything. So she thought that she was screaming into a void, which she might as well be, I suppose. But first of all, he's been checking these signals nonstop for 9 days. He hasn't really eaten anything. Obviously, he's now living on dog food. I guess he's used to it now. But he hangs on to Carol's every word. And that empowers him to finally go home, go outside, check what's happening, and eat real food, right? And I think also the revelation, I'm guessing that revelation is essentially that the person who's been bringing him food this whole time is his mother. So the hive sent somebody that was familiar to him. So I wonder if he was throwing the food away partly because he doesn't like her.
I think because he didn't know that they can't lie.
And because he didn't know
I think Carol gave him some crucial information there. But I loved the scene. Like, the scene made me weirdly emotional because of, like you said, I think he has such relief on his face, and you can tell that he has been waiting so long for someone to say exactly what she said. And I think his performance here with no dialogue was really good. Like, I felt that
amazing.
on his face.
Him realizing
and
that there are other people. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's a beautiful reframe of the videotape scene because, you know, there was some humor to it, and I think some of us are kind of like making fun of her, right? Like, this isn't going to convince anyone. And yet, it's exactly what one
It literally
person
saves his life.
needed to hear. And you know what? My mind went immediately back to the first episode where Carol has a conversation with Helen, and Helen says, if you make even one person happy, maybe that's not art, but it's something. And I think it's kind of beautiful here that Carol's words didn't resonate with most people, but they resonated with one person, and that actually really mattered. So I think that was kind of a really nice thread that I found.
Yeah, I mean, well, where do you think he's going now?
I think he's going to try to find her. I mean, he got in his car, and I think, unfortunately, he doesn't want to use the Hive, so I don't know how
I
he's
think
going
he
to
might
fly
now that he
over
knows
to
that they're not
Albuquerque.
harmful to him.
Yeah.
I think now that he knows that they're not going to harm him, he might, but it could be anything. Like, he definitely would need their help to get to where she is.
Unless
And
he knows how to fly a plane, and we don't know. I mean, who knows?
yeah. I mean, he's actually, I think, listed as like a starring member of the cast. I think he's like, other than Ray, he's also main cast. I feel like even Samba Shoot, who plays Diabate, is not exactly main cast, but this guy is. So
yeah, I think he's like third
important.
build after like Ray and then Carolina. So he should have some screen time in the next few episodes. Wait, I did want to talk about his interaction with his mom because I think that definitely shows how he has a very similar viewpoint as Carol, because she is calling him son, and he's like, you are not my mother.
You're not my mother.
She was a B word. I don't know if we can swear on here. And I think that's Carol's like whole point, right? Is that someone's flaws are what make up who you are. Like, you actually need some negativity because that is a part of you. And if you take that away, that's not them, right? So everyone else can think that's their family, but they basically have a whole new personality. They have this sunny, happy personality. If they don't have the annoying parts of themselves, if they don't have the mean parts of themselves, then that's not them.
Yeah. I wonder if he would, you know, despite not liking his mother, he would take that person over whoever is standing in front of him right now. The fact that they're even standing in the darkness is just funny. Like, the whole thing was so scary. I thought that something was going to happen, or he would actually try to, you know, take action against her or like protect himself from her. Or thankfully, nobody was harmed. But I just wonder all the things that were going through his head. And he ends up leaving. But, you know, all the people around him in that era, we don't know how they're going to try to interact with him. We just know that they're sustaining themselves. He is the only person there. So everybody in that country is a member of the Hive, right? So, like, I wonder what breakthroughs they've made in terms of efficiency. Obviously, they all know who Carol is. If he asks about her, they'll take him to her and something. So, like, maybe. I mean, there's so many interesting deliveries of information in this episode. Him talking to the lady who was once his mom. Carol talking to Diabate, and the fact that she says that he might want to sit down for this, and she's the one who not only ends up sitting down but actually needs the drink, is very funny to me. The choice to call this human-derived protein is also funny, and the fact that Kumba Diabate has been hanging out with John Cena.
Oh my god, we didn't even talk about John Cena. Yes.
Freaking John Cena is just here casually, and I just, the introduction is just amazing, in all honesty, because it's like, hi Carol, we're John Cena. Like, we are John Cena. This is the individual that was known as John Cena. Like, that is too much. Like, the comedy here is crazy because you can see this, the fully incredulous look on her face of like, how is this happening? You know, like, first of all, Diabate got the videos but didn't bother responding. Like, I figured, honestly, that they would know what she was up to, that the Hive would know, because they probably set up systems to monitor her. Like, they talked about the satellites that they have as well. You know, they had an idea that she might find what she might find. And that makes sense, because I'm pretty sure that they would have covered their tracks a little bit if they didn't want her to find certain things out. But clearly they're okay with her knowing. They know they're not doing anything that they don't have to do. And they're not trying to scare her. They're fully transparent. Like, they're almost annoyingly transparent from her point of view, because it's like every time she feels like there is something she can have on them, they're 2 steps ahead. And I think that's part of but that's partly because she's a writer. I think that since, like for the past 2 episodes or so, she's been kind of trying to find meaning in all this by creating a story. And the story that she's going for is one where she finds the truth and saves humanity. I think ever since she opened her little whiteboard and started making her notes, she's been trying to figure out how to move forward with all this, because that's how she's keeping her sanity. But in that vein, it's like she has certain expectations. So it's almost like mentally she's expecting to discover a villain that will become the source of drama and conflict that will keep her going. But she doesn't have that. So it's as sad as it is frustrating, because she continues to lose whatever purpose she thinks she has, right? So seeing the individual formerly known as John Cena appearing as himself genuinely made me burst out laughing, because Carol just couldn't even understand. It's like, what is this guy doing here? Like, she's barely even able to ask questions. And I wonder if Kumba actually managed to learn the Sunset Powerbomb. We'll have to find out if he ends up using that. But yeah, human-derived protein.
Yeah, and I think that's, again, the different ways they look at the Hive mind, where he's like, well, John Cena told me. And she's like, that's not John Cena. That is not him.
I have to agree with her.
He's like guest starring on everything now. I was like, Bear guest star, Pluribus guest star. He's making the rounds.
He is making the rounds. It's good to see him, to be honest. It's kind of meta in a way. I wonder if some viewers will consider this distracting. But to be honest, it's so well within the show's wheelhouse and what is plausible for the characters that I don't think anyone can truly complain about this. I mean, we're dealing with something where the official tagline of the show is the most miserable person on earth must save the world from happiness. And it's just interesting that Carol is essentially, in fact, so miserable that happiness itself feels the need to run from her. That's crazy. Like, the irony is wild.
Yeah, and I think that's why, there's a lot of interesting discussions on this show, right? Because I think for some people, right, like peace, you might think peace is okay over individuality, right? And I think, like, that's valid too. You can be like, there's so much horribleness in the world right now that is a sacrifice humanity should make. Like, humanity is unable to be saved. But then, she has that view, like I said, of like, individuality is worth fighting for. Like, you should fight for your right to be angry, for your right to be miserable, your right to be sad, and like pain and all that is just part of life and part of being human. And without it, you're not human. And that's sort of like, I think, ultimately her point of view. And I think you made a great point. I think that's why it's easier to fight for that if you can look for something nefarious in the other side, right? And then if there isn't, then it does make the conversation a little more fun, no matter what side you're kind of leaning towards.
And it's also very funny to me how Carol would genuinely know a lot of the stuff that she learned in this episode if she just asked more questions. But she doesn't, because she's not trying to interact with them. So she and Manousos will always be the ones in the dark. And maybe maybe she's gonna operate a bit differently now. Maybe she's not gonna need a villain anymore now that this has happened and she's learned, okay, I'm safe. Or at least for now, she's safe. She doesn't know what we know. But
I will say, though, not in her defense. Well, in her defense, that with the vegetarian line, that was deliberate, right? They decided to be a little sneaky in how they phrased that, right?
Versus, I mean, they said they would prefer. I feel like that was clear, though. Like, is that really sneaky? Yeah, but I think they also could have.
I think so, because they know the impression versus they straight up just told Kumba what the. I don't know. I guess maybe it depends how you phrase the questions, right? But it seems like if they know that someone's not going to respond well to it, they know how to phrase it, right? And again, maybe it's how she worded it. Like if they specifically said, I don't know, are you eating, maybe you have to say, are you eating humans? Or like, what exactly is in the milk? But they could also say something like, oh, you could also use fancy language to get around it. So it's hard to say if they would have told her or not. But like, right? I think, but also like we talked about with the stem cells, I think they know the impression of what she's asking, and yet they're not going to like correct her and follow up. They're just going to say, no, the stem cells won't be taken from your body. But they know what that means.
We will help you
I do
only
think there's
in so
a little
much
bit
as it doesn't
here.
harm us.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how much they would always twist their words if they know the audience isn't receptive to it in the first place. I feel like we don't see enough of the other people to make that determination, right? Because we're just so in Carol's viewpoint that it's hard to tell. Like, are they ever sneaky with Lakshmi so that like she really thinks her son is her son, and they're like careful about what they would tell her? But he said that the survivors were all aware. Oh, sorry, I'm thinking all over the place. But they said that the survivors
Please think all over the place.
They said that the survivors were all aware of the starvation crisis. It's not clear to me if everyone else knows that the milk is people, though. Because they could say, like, there is a food crisis and we need to solve this, so let's, like, brainstorm robotic farming and whatever. But do they all know that that's what they're drinking? Because maybe Lakshmi's fine with it. I'm not 100% sure if Lakshmi would be like, oh, you know what? Her kid is probably eating normal food. Like, their family members are probably the only ones in the hive that are allowed to eat normal food to give them that sense of normalcy.
Because
so
Lakshmi
that's
needs her
it.
son to be her son, she's probably requested that they eat actual food. So they probably prepare that for her.
Yeah. So she might not know, right? And I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess that's the point of the show, right? That we're kind of kept in the dark with Carol. And that's why it's such a very singular viewpoint. So we don't really have these other survivor perspectives.
Yeah. My assumption right now is that Carol now knows Kumba has known for a while, and most of the other people also know, and maybe they're just okay with it because they understand the utility and necessity of it.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's going to be, because if Kumba's okay with it, I feel like he's not that different from a lot of the other people in terms of the viewpoint of why do we need to change the world back? Now, as of this episode, there is a reason to change the world back, which is the fact that everyone's going to die of starvation in 10 years. That is something worth fixing. And I think it's kind of cool on some level that the show has basically introduced a new existential threat to, well, everyone around. Like in a lot of shows, they try to have like, you know, climate change metaphors, for example. And in the case of this episode and this show, this is the climate change metaphor. Like this is the thing that's like, you know, it's going to kill everyone if we don't do something about it. Because based on the way these people are, the Hive, I'm pretty sure they've kind of solved climate change, but we just haven't talked about it yet. They probably figured out a way for everything to be efficient. There's conservation. They've turned off power in most of the cities. Like they found a way for everyone to live efficiently. And now it's just a matter of, okay, how do we survive? How do we live? And it's a question of whether humanity would be able to survive if we weren't able to, you know, take other life. Like this is the kind of like line of questioning that the show wants us to sort of consider. What makes humanity human? And I've talked a little bit about sustainability of viewpoints in this episode, but it's also about, well, sustainability of sustainability. Like what truly is sustainable? How would we be able to continue living given this particular scenario? Like even if everybody was still, I guess, conscious, because yes, they've thrown a life preserver into like to the people who are drowning, so to speak, from their point of view. But I mean, you kind of also need somebody to pull you out of the water, and it looks like everybody's kind of just in the water in their life preservers floating casually towards a waterfall. So where do we go from here is the real question. And, you know, what is Carol going to do? Is she going to be kind of like just still miserable, or is she going to be more chill now? Is she actually a mean person? Is she going to have a little bit more empathy? Are we even going to, like, what if this is about to be a situation where, you know, in episode 7, we see more of Manousos than anything else? Maybe this is going to be finally the Manousos point of view episode. That could be interesting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see where they go with it.
Yeah, and I think the question too is, now that she has this supposed safety net that they're not going to turn her, does that lessen her urgency to fix this in any way, right?
I feel like it does. I feel like
think
it
it
has
will,
already.
and that's a question of like how much is this a bit for yourself versus like I need to save all these other people. Because she might just take
she
this.
did say she was trying to save humanity.
But maybe it's like, oh, I have a safety net. None of these other people even care. So I'm going to like take a step back for a bit because why am I killing myself?
Yeah, I can't come back to myself. And, she felt like maybe that, like, just for a quick second, that they might not respect her privacy and agency, which is why she felt the need to ask those questions. And by the way, the fact that the show still makes us sit through those voicemails with her is so effective. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she has all the confirmation she needs now. And her mindset has kind of shifted a little bit. She now has even more power than she thought she already had. So I guess it's a matter of what's she going to do with it. Let's see what she does with it. And yeah, that's probably a good place to leave things this week. I mean, where do you think we end up going from here? How soon do you think it'll be before Manousos and Carol actually make contact again?
I feel like, honestly, probably not till like 8 or 9. I mean,
okay.
These aren't spoilers, but there was just one review that talked about episode 7 and said it felt like a last woman on Earth journey. So that gives me the sense that 7 might be another kind of solo-esque episode. I don't know who could come in towards the end of it maybe, or maybe it's something we're not expecting, but it kind of sounds like she has to be maybe pushed to rock bottom, because at least in this episode, she was still rejecting the hive mind. She was like, I'm not interested. I'm not having a change of heart. So I think she has to get to that change of heart before we can bring back any other characters. And then, Manousos needs to like figure out how he's going to get over there at this point, right? He grabbed his car, but we don't know anything else at this point. So,
I mean, there's so many different ways it could go. I think watching them have like kind of solo perspectives, maybe even in the same episode, could be fun. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. But thank you so much, Cris. And thank you all so much for listening. This has been a fun one, to say the least. And we're going to be back for episode 7. We'll see how quickly we can get that out. That's going to be probably quite a journey, to be honest. It's going to be probably packed with a lot of stuff. So stay tuned, keep it locked to the feed, and we'll talk to you soon. Definitely continue to leave comments. We love responding to them. It's really cool to have a lot of people thinking about the show in a fun, interesting, and insightful way. And till next time, enjoy the glam.